In the city of Tenebris, where darkness reigned supreme, every day felt like a poorly scripted comedy, one where the punchlines never landed and the jokes were lost in a sea of shadow. It was a place where people had learned to navigate the gloom with the finesse of seasoned tightrope walkers, balancing on the precipice of absurdity and despair. Max awoke to the familiar sound of his alarm, a cacophony of clattering pots and pans that he had programmed to mimic a kitchen explosion. The only light in his dimly lit apartment came from a series of flickering glow sticks that he had arranged in a desperate attempt to mimic a disco. He squinted at his reflection in the mirror, a frazzled mop of hair and tired eyes staring back at him. "Another day in paradise," he muttered, brushing his teeth with a minty toothpaste that had long since expired. As he brushed, he recalled a dream that had danced tantalizingly at the edge of his mind, a sunbathing cat wearing sunglasses and a sandwich that could sing. He shook his head, trying to dispel the strange imagery. "What is wrong with me?" he sighed, rinsing out his mouth. Max's apartment was a veritable museum of failed inventions. A solar-powered flashlight that had never worked, a self-lighting candle that smelled suspiciously like burnt rubber, and a collection of odd contraptions meant to simulate sunlight in various absurd ways. He had once believed he could bring light to Tenebris, but those dreams had faded into the darkness. With a reluctant sigh, he ventured into the hallway, where the walls were lined with what the residents called shadow art. It was an eclectic mix of charcoal sketches and luminescent stickers, all blending into an unintelligible tapestry of shapes that danced in the dark. As he shuffled past the neighbors' doors, he could hear snippets of their lives: Clara arguing with her pet goldfish about the merits of being optimistic, a child's laughter echoing from a nearby apartment where glow-in-the-dark paint was evidently a hot commodity. Just then, Clara, his eccentric neighbor, burst through her door. She was a whirlwind of energy, her frizzy hair bouncing like a defiant halo. "Max! You have to come see this," she exclaimed, her eyes alight with excitement. "I've discovered something amazing." "What is it this time?" "A way to bake cookies in the dark?" Max replied, his tone laced with dry humor. "No. Something better. I've found a way to escape this darkness," Clara declared, her voice rising to a pitch that could only be described as gleeful madness. Max raised an eyebrow, skepticism creeping in. "Escape? Clara, the last time you tried to escape, you ended up in the neighbor's closet." "Those were just minor setbacks," she insisted, undeterred. "Trust me. This is different. Meet me in my apartment in 5 minutes." With a resigned groan, Max agreed, knowing full well he had no choice. He followed Clara into her apartment, a chaotic sanctuary filled with oddities, everything from jars of glowing liquids to an enormous board where she had mapped out her theories about the outside world. As he stepped inside, Clara stood in front of a massive poster that read, "The truth is out there," adorned with an assortment of colorful doodles. "I've cracked the code," she exclaimed, waving a piece of paper frantically. "I've decoded the council's secret messages." Max squinted at the scribbles, feeling a wave of incredulity wash over him. "That looks like a grocery list," he deadpanned. "It's not just any grocery list," she protested. "It's a blueprint for our liberation. The council is hiding the truth about what lies outside these walls." Just then, a loud thud echoed from the hallway, followed by a low, menacing growl. Both Max and Clara froze. They exchanged a glance that spoke volumes. Was it fear or excitement? They tiptoed to the door, peeking through the keyhole. To their surprise, a figure loomed in the dim light, a council enforcer, dressed in a uniform that seemed designed to instill fear rather than respect. He was muttering something about keeping the shadows safe. Max felt a twinge of dread as he recalled stories of what happened to those who dared to question the council. Clara's eyes widened. "We need to go now," she whispered urgently, yanking Max back into the apartment. "If they find out what I know, they'll throw us into the shadow pits?" "Yeah, I get it," Max replied, his heart racing. "But we don't even know what's out there." "Exactly. We need to find out," Clara insisted. "Join me, Max. We can't live in fear forever." Max hesitated. Life in Tenebris had been dark and twisted, but it was familiar. This was a risk he wasn't sure he was willing to take. But the thought of remaining in the perpetual gloom, stuck in his monotonous routine, was equally daunting. "Fine," he relented, a strange mix of humor and dread settling in his stomach. "But if we end up in the shadow pits, I'm blaming you." With a plan hastily formed, the two set off into the darkness of Tenebris, determined to uncover whatever bizarre truth awaited them outside the city walls. They gathered a motley crew of fellow light-seekers, each more eccentric than the last, a conspiracy theorist named Leo who insisted that the council was run by sentient shadows, a former council member who had grown tired of the darkness, and a flamboyant street performer who could juggle glow-in-the-dark balls like nobody's business. Their first attempt at escape was nothing short of a comedy of errors. The group gathered in a back alley, cloaked in the shadows. Clara stood in front of a makeshift map drawn on the back of a pizza box. "All right, team. This is our route," she declared, pointing dramatically at the wobbly lines. "What's the plan, exactly?" Max asked, scratching his head. "Are we supposed to follow the glowing arrows or the pizza stains?" "Both," Clara replied, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "The glowing arrows lead to the council's main gate. We'll use the pizza stains as a distraction." Leo chimed in, "What if the council has guards there? We need a diversion." The street performer, who had been fiddling with his glowing balls, piped up, "I can juggle fire. It'll create a diversion." "Right, because nothing says escape like a fiery spectacle," Max muttered under his breath. Still, he found himself laughing despite the ridiculousness of it all. Under the cover of darkness, they made their way to the council's main gate, only to be thwarted by a series of mishaps. Clara tripped over a stray cat that had clearly had enough of their antics, Leo fell into a trash can, and the street performer, in an attempt to juggle, accidentally launched one of his glowing balls into a nearby window, which shattered with an ominous crash. "Maybe we should consider a different career path," Max suggested, his voice tinged with irony. After several more failed attempts, they found themselves huddled in a dark corner, panting and defeated. "This is going well," Clara said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Should we just give up?" Max asked, looking at the others, who wore expressions ranging from disappointment to outright hilarity. "No way. We need to try again," Clara insisted, her enthusiasm unwavering. "This time, we'll be stealthy." Max couldn't help but laugh. Stealthy? In this group? Eventually, after many humorous and ridiculous attempts, they managed to find a hidden passageway that led them outside the walls of Tenebris. The thrill of potential freedom surged through them, but as they stumbled into the unknown, they were met with an unexpected sight. The landscape was surreal, vibrant colors splashed against the backdrop of a dark sky, and strange, whimsical creatures flitted about. There were trees that shimmered like silver, and flowers that glowed with an otherworldly light. The air was filled with laughter and music, a stark contrast to the oppressive silence of the city they had left behind. "What is this place?" Max gasped, his heart racing. "It's beautiful," Clara exclaimed, twirling in the soft, luminous grass. I knew it had to exist. But before they could fully embrace their newfound freedom, they were confronted by a group of colorful beings who seemed to be both curious and cautious. These creatures, half animal, half fantastical, regarded the newcomers with a mix of wonder and skepticism. "Who dares enter the realm of Luminera?" one of the creatures demanded, its voice melodic yet commanding. It had fur that shimmered like a disco ball and eyes that twinkled with mischief. Max stammered, "We're just exploring." "Exploring? Ha! You mean you've escaped the drab of Tenebris?" another creature chimed in, its feathers glowing in a vibrant spectrum. "Yes. We're here to," Clara began, but before she could finish, the creatures erupted into laughter, filling the air with a sound so joyous it was infectious. "Join us for a celebration. We have tales to tell and light to share," the first creature declared, beckoning them forward. Caught up in the whimsy of the moment, the group followed the creatures into a clearing, where a festival was already in full swing. Colorful lights danced around them, and the atmosphere was electric with laughter and joy. Clara's eyes sparkled with delight as she twirled around, pulling Max along for a dance. For a moment, Max felt a weight lift from his chest. They were free. They were alive. And this strange, luminous world was everything he had never known he wanted. They feasted on food that sparkled and sang, and as night deepened, the stars above shimmered like 1,000 tiny lanterns. But as the revelry continued, a shadow fell over the festivities. A figure from Tenebris had followed them, a council enforcer who had been tipped off about their escape. He stepped forward, his expression dark and menacing. "What are you doing here?" he barked, his voice cutting through the laughter like a knife. "You're not allowed to be here. You belong in the shadows." The creatures fell silent, their joyous expressions replaced with concern. Max felt the adrenaline spike. "We're here to celebrate. To embrace the light," he shouted, stepping forward, emboldened by the vibrant energy around him. The enforcer sneered, "You think you can escape? The council will hunt you down." "No!" Clara shouted, surprising everyone. "We won't let fear control us anymore. We've seen the truth. The darkness doesn't own us." Max stood by her side, feeling a surge of confidence. "You're right. We've lived in fear for too long. It's time for us to take back our freedom." With a collective shout, the creatures rallied behind them, their colorful forms standing defiantly against the enforcer. The atmosphere crackled with energy, and the enforcer, realizing he was outnumbered and outmatched, retreated into the shadows, his threats fading into the distance. "Now, let's light up the night," one of the creatures cheered, and with that, they erupted into a new celebration, vibrant and triumphant. Max and Clara looked at each other, a mix of disbelief and joy flooding through them. They had done it. They had broken free from the chains of darkness, and in that moment, they realized that the journey was just beginning. As the night wore on, the group shared stories, laughter, and dreams under the brilliant glow of the stars. Max felt a warmth in his heart he hadn't experienced in ages, a sense of belonging, of purpose. The darkness of Tenebris was a mere memory now, overshadowed by the brilliance of this new world. In the days that followed, they explored the realm of Luminera, learning from the vibrant creatures who called it home. They discovered new ways to create light, crafting devices that not only illuminated but celebrated life itself. Max found himself inventing once more, fueled by inspiration instead of despair. Clara became a beacon of hope, rallying others to join their cause. Together, they sent messages back to Tenebris, igniting a spark of rebellion among the citizens trapped in darkness. It wasn't long before whispers of light began to ripple through the city, a wave of courage building among those who dared to dream of a brighter future. Eventually, the citizens of Tenebris began to break free from the chains of fear. They started to question the council's authority, emboldened by the stories of those who had escaped. Inspired by Max and Clara's journey, they fought back against the darkness, refusing to let fear dictate their lives any longer. In a climactic confrontation, Max and Clara led the charge, using their inventions and the wisdom they had gained from the creatures of Luminera. They turned the council's tools of oppression against them, showcasing the beauty of light and community. As the final showdown unfolded, the citizens of Tenebris united, standing tall against the council's grip on power. The council, realizing their reign was crumbling, retreated into the shadows, defeated by the very people they had sought to control. In the aftermath, the city began to change. The walls that had once contained the darkness started to crack, allowing light to filter through. Max and Clara worked tirelessly to rebuild their home, infusing it with the spirit of Luminera. They transformed Tenebris into a place of creativity, laughter, and celebration, a far cry from the oppressive silence it had once been. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating the city in hues of gold and orange, Max stood alongside Clara, taking in the sight of their transformed world. "We did it," he whispered, disbelief mixing with gratitude. "Yes, we did," Clara replied, a smile lighting up her face. "And this is just the beginning." With hope in their hearts and the promise of a brighter future ahead, Max and Clara looked out over Tenebris, knowing they had turned the tide against the darkness. They had found their light and, together, they would continue to shine. As the dawn spread its golden fingers across Tenebris, the city felt alive in a way it hadn't in decades. Max and Clara stood on the balcony of what had once been the Council of Shadows headquarters, now a hub of activity and innovation. The building, once an oppressive monument to fear, had been transformed into a lively community center, bursting with colors and sounds that echoed with laughter and music. The air buzzed with the energy of hope. "Look at them," Clara said, her voice thick with emotion as she gestured toward the streets below. Citizens bustled about, chatting, sharing ideas, and planting the first seeds in the communal gardens that had replaced the sterile, foreboding concrete. "They're really doing it. They're embracing the light." Max smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. "It's amazing to see how quickly they've adapted. All they needed was a reason to believe." "Do you think the council will try to come back?" Clara asked, a hint of worry creeping into her voice. "I don't know," Max replied, scanning the horizon. "They're likely regrouping, plotting their next move. But we're ready for them. We've shown everyone that we can be free." With a determined nod, Clara turned to Max. "We should start working on the next phase. Education, creativity. We need to build something that lasts." Max agreed. They began brainstorming ideas for workshops, classes, and community events that could harness the newfound energy of the citizens. Their vision was ambitious, but they were fueled by inspiration and a sense of purpose. The old ways had faded, and in their place, a new era was dawning, one that thrived on collaboration and innovation. In the days that followed, Tenebris underwent a rapid transformation. The streets filled with art, murals depicting light breaking through darkness, sculptures made from reclaimed materials, and even playful installations that invited citizens to interact. Max and Clara enlisted the help of the creatures from the realm of Luminera, who had ventured into the city to share their knowledge of light and color. The creatures, with their vibrant hues and infectious energy, were a welcome addition, bridging the gap between two worlds. Together, they organized events that celebrated creativity. A Festival of Lights was the first to take shape, a massive gathering that would include music, dance, and artistic displays. Max and Clara worked tirelessly, drawing up plans, creating a budget from donations, and rallying the community to pitch in. It was hard work, but the atmosphere was electric, and every task felt like a step closer to their dreams. As the festival date approached, the excitement in the air became palpable. Flyers were posted, word spread through social media channels they had established, and people were eager to participate. Mechs even designed a series of glowing orbs that would float above the festivities, illuminating the space with a soft, ethereal light. On the day of the festival, the streets were filled with an array of colors. Vendors set up stalls selling handmade crafts, delicious foods, and art supplies. Music echoed through the air, a joyful blend of traditional melodies and modern beats. Clara was a whirlwind, flitting from one part of the festival to another, making sure everything was running smoothly. Mechs. "We need more glow orbs near the stage," she shouted over the crowd, her eyes alight with excitement. "On it," he called back, grabbing a handful of orbs and carefully placing them in strategic spots. He marveled at how quickly the community had come together. It felt like a family, united by a shared sense of purpose and joy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that mingled with the vibrant lights, the festival reached its peak. Clara took to the stage, her heart racing with a mix of nerves and exhilaration. "Welcome, everyone, to the Festival of Lights," she announced, her voice carrying through the crowd. "Tonight, we celebrate not just the end of darkness, but the beginning of our journey together." The crowd erupted in cheers, and as the first notes of music filled the air, Clara danced, embodying the spirit of their new world. Mechs watched, pride swelling in his chest. This was what they had fought for, the freedom to express, to connect, and to celebrate life without fear. As the night wore on, the glow orbs illuminated the faces of joy and wonder. Children laughed and played, adults embraced new friendships, and the creatures from Luminera mingled among them, sharing their tales and magic. Mechs felt a sense of belonging he had never known, a deep-rooted connection to the community and to Clara, but amidst the revelry, a sense of unease flickered in the back of his mind. He glanced around, searching for any sign of the council's return. While he trusted the citizens to defend their newfound freedom, the remnants of fear were hard to shake. Just as he settled back into the festivities, a commotion broke out at the edge of the crowd. He turned to see a group of council enforcers pushing through, their expressions grim and determined. The music faltered as people turned, confusion and fear rippling through the crowd. "Citizens of Tenebris," one of the enforcers shouted, their voice a sharp contrast to the joy that had filled the air moments before. "You are in violation of council law. You must return to your homes immediately." Mechs felt his heart race. He scanned the faces around him, seeing the flicker of fear in many, but also a glint of defiance. Clara stepped forward, her voice steady. "We are no longer afraid of you. This is our home now, and we will not be silenced." The crowd rallied behind her, a wave of solidarity rising against the enforcers. Mechs joined Clara, feeling the strength of their community surge. "We've chosen to embrace the light," he called out. "You can't control us anymore." The enforcers hesitated, caught off guard by the united front of the citizens. But their leader pushed forward, a sneer forming on their lips. "You think this is a game? We will take back what is ours. Not without a fight." Clara shouted, and the crowd erupted into cheers, their voices a chorus of defiance. Mechs felt the adrenaline rush through him, a potent mixture of fear and exhilaration. Suddenly, the creatures from Luminera stepped forward, their colorful forms radiating with light. "You cannot extinguish our flame," one declared, their voice powerful and resonant. "We stand with the citizens of Tenebris." The enforcers faltered, confusion etched on their faces. Max seized the moment. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone who has suffered under your rule. You've lost your power over us. With a roar of approval, the crowd surged forward, emboldened by their unity. The enforcers, realizing they were outmatched, retreated into the shadows, their threats fading into the night. As the music swelled once more, the citizens erupted into celebration, their fears momentarily forgotten. Clara turned to Max, her eyes shining with triumph. "We did it. We stood up to them." Max smiled, feeling a rush of exhilaration. "Together, we can do anything," he said, pulling her into a celebratory hug. The energy in the air was electric, a testament to their victory, but as the festival continued, Max couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The council would not be so easily defeated, and he knew they would regroup. He shared his thoughts with Clara as they watched the festivities unfold. "What if they come back?" he asked, his brow furrowing with concern. "We'll be ready," Clara replied firmly. "We have to keep the momentum going. If we can show them we're not afraid, we can keep them at bay." Max nodded, the resolve settling in his chest. They needed to fortify their community, build systems of support, and educate their citizens on the importance of standing together. The fight for freedom wasn't over. It had only just begun. In the following weeks, Max and Clara worked tirelessly to create workshops focused on empowerment and resilience. They invited speakers from Luminera to share their stories and skills, fostering a culture of creativity and courage among the citizens of Tenebris. Each gathering grew larger, transforming into a movement that inspired everyone to take an active role in shaping their future. But just as they began to see real change, a shadow loomed over their progress. Whispers of dissent began to circulate, loyalists to the council who were unhappy with the newfound freedoms and sought to undermine their efforts. One night, as Max and Clara wrapped up a successful workshop on creative expression, they were approached by a group of citizens who had been gathering in secret. "We need to talk," one of them said, her voice low and urgent. "About what?" Clara asked, her concern evident. "There are rumors that the council is planning something big. They're rallying their supporters, trying to regain control. They want to crush this movement before it gains any more strength," the woman explained. Max's heart sank. "We can't let that happen. We need to unite everyone. If we can rally our citizens and show them the strength we have together, yes." Clara interrupted, her eyes lighting up with determination. "If we can create a massive gathering, a display of our unity, they won't be able to ignore us." With a newfound urgency, they set to work organizing a citywide event. They called it the Unity Festival, a gathering meant to showcase the strength and resilience of the citizens of Tenebris. Flyers were distributed, word spread like wildfire, and soon the anticipation was palpable. As the day of the festival approached, Max and Clara felt the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. They knew this event could make or break their movement. Would the citizens rally together, or would fear drive them back into the shadows? On the day of the Unity Festival, the streets were alive with energy. Families set up booths showcasing their talents, musicians filled the air with melodies, and artists painted murals that expressed their hopes and dreams. Max looked out at the crowd, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. When it was Clara's turn to speak, she took the stage with a fierce determination. "Today, we stand together, not as individuals, but as a community united by our shared experiences and dreams. We are no longer living in fear. We will not let the darkness consume us again." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the streets. Max felt a swell of pride as he watched Clara inspire those around her. This was the moment they had worked so hard for, and it was finally happening. But just as the celebration reached its peak, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of the crowd, the council enforcer who had confronted them at the Festival of Lights. This time, he wasn't alone. A group of loyalists followed behind, their faces twisted in anger and determination. "Enough of this nonsense," the enforcer shouted, his voice cutting through the music. "You are traitors to the council. You will be punished for your rebellion." Max felt the air grow tense as fear rippled through the crowd. But Clara stepped forward, her voice steady. "We are not afraid of you. We stand together as a community, and we will not back down." "Foolishness," the enforcer sneered. "You think you can defy the council? We will show you the true power of darkness." In that moment, the energy shifted. The citizens of Tenebris, emboldened by Clara's words, began to gather around her, forming a protective barrier. Max felt the adrenaline surge within him, igniting a fire of determination. They wouldn't let fear win. The enforcer stepped closer, but before he could make a move, the creatures from Luminera surged forward, their vibrant forms a dazzling display against the dark backdrop of the enforcers. "You will not extinguish our light," one of them declared, their voice resonating with power. The loyalists hesitated, their resolve faltering. The sight of the colorful creatures standing alongside the citizens of Tenebris was a powerful testament to unity. Clara took the opportunity to rally the crowd. "Together, we are stronger than any darkness. Together, we will protect our freedom." The crowd erupted into chants, voices merging into a powerful wave of defiance. No more shadows. No more fear. As the enforcers realized they were vastly outnumbered and facing an unexpected force, they retreated, their threats fading into the distance. The citizens of Tenebris had stood their ground, and in that moment, they forged an unbreakable bond. As the celebrations resumed, Max felt a sense of relief wash over him. The council's grip was slipping, and the citizens were beginning to realize their own strength. Clara turned to him, a wide grin on her face. "We did it. We stood together, and we didn't let them win." Max smiled back, a surge of hope filling his heart. "This is just the beginning. We need to keep this momentum going. We've shown them that we can't be controlled." With the Unity Festival as a pivotal moment in their fight for freedom, the citizens of Tenebris continued to come together, forming a community rooted in creativity, resilience, and support. They held regular gatherings to share ideas, learn from one another, and foster a culture of empowerment. But the shadow of the council loomed in the background. They were regrouping, and Max and Clara knew they needed to be vigilant. They decided to form a council of their own, a representative body that would embody the voices of the community and ensure that no one would ever have to live in fear again. They reached out to citizens from various walks of life, inviting them to join the new council. Artists, educators, activists, and even former council members who had turned against the darkness were welcomed. Together, they crafted a vision for Tenebris that prioritized creativity, inclusion, and transparency. As the new council began to take shape, Max found himself drawn to the idea of a light festival to symbolize their commitment to hope and unity. He shared his vision with Clara, and her eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes. Let's create something truly magical, a celebration of everything we stand for." They spent countless nights brainstorming, planning, and organizing. The Light Festival would not only be a celebration, it would serve as a declaration of their commitment to a brighter future. They envisioned a grand display of light that would illuminate the city, shining as a beacon of hope and resilience. As the date approached, anticipation grew among the citizens. They decorated the streets with luminous installations, crafted glowing lanterns, and prepared performances that showcased the talents of the community. It felt like a collective rebirth, an opportunity to rewrite the narrative of Tenebris. On the night of the festival, the city was transformed into a radiant wonderland. Bright lights twinkled against the backdrop of the night sky, casting colorful reflections on the streets below. Music filled the air, laughter echoed through the crowd, and a sense of joy enveloped everyone. Max and Clara stood on the balcony of the council building, gazing out at the breathtaking scene. "This is incredible," Max said, his heart swelling with pride. "Can you believe how far we've come?" Clara replied, her eyes shining. "We've turned our pain into something beautiful." As they prepared to take the stage, Clara squeezed Max's hand. "Let's remind everyone why we're here." Together, they stepped onto the platform, the crowd erupting into cheers. Clara raised her hands, calling for silence. "Tonight, we celebrate our journey, the triumph over darkness, the strength of our community, and the promise of a brighter future." As the crowd roared in approval, Max felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. They had faced the shadows together, and they had emerged stronger. The festival unfolded in a whirlwind of music, dance, and storytelling, each performance weaving a thread into the tapestry of their shared experience. Max took to the stage, sharing stories of resilience, creativity, and hope, urging everyone to embrace the light within themselves. As the night reached its peak, the culmination of the festival arrived, an awe-inspiring display of light that filled the sky. Clara and Max watched as the lanterns they had crafted together floated into the air, illuminating the darkness like stars breaking free. The crowd gasped in unison, eyes wide with wonder. The moment was magical, and in that breathtaking display, the citizens of Tenebris felt the weight of their past lift away. They were no longer just survivors of darkness, they were the architects of their own destiny. In the following days, the Light Festival sparked a renewed sense of purpose in the community. They continued to gather, sharing stories and dreams, working together to build a future that embraced creativity, resilience, and light. But Max and Clara remained aware that the council would not stay silent forever. Rumors of dissent simmered, and there were whispers of loyalty among those who clung to the old ways. They knew they needed to remain vigilant, prepared for whatever might come. One evening, while reviewing the progress of their initiatives, a familiar face appeared at their door. It was Leo, the conspiracy theorist who had become a close ally. His expression was serious, and Max sensed urgency in his demeanor. "Guys, we need to talk," Leo said, his voice low. "I've been hearing some troubling things." "What kind of things?" Clara asked, concern etched on her face. "The council is plotting a coup. They're gathering their supporters, and they plan to strike during the next full moon," Leo explained, his eyes wide with alarm. "They think the Unity Festival was a fluke, that we're not really united." Max felt a chill run down his spine. "We can't let them catch us off guard. We need to spread the word and rally everyone together." Clara nodded resolutely. "We'll call an emergency meeting. If we can get everyone on the same page, we'll be ready." With Leo's information sparking a renewed sense of urgency, they set to work organizing a gathering to discuss the threat posed by the council. Word spread quickly, and soon the community center was filled with citizens eager to learn and strategize. As Max addressed the crowd, he felt the weight of responsibility. "We've come too far to let fear take hold again. We need to be united, vigilant, and ready to protect what we've built. The council may think they can divide us, but they're mistaken." The room buzzed with energy, voices rising in agreement. They discussed plans for surveillance, communication, and solidarity, each citizen eager to contribute to the cause. Ideas flowed like water, and together they crafted strategies to bolster their defenses. As the days passed, the tension in the air grew thick with anticipation. Citizens remained on alert, rallying around the idea that they were stronger together. Max and Clara worked tirelessly, forging bonds within the community that transcended fear. When the full moon arrived, a palpable sense of resolve filled the city. Max and Clara stood on the balcony of the community center, gazing at the horizon where shadows danced under the moonlight. "We'll show them that we're not afraid," Clara said, determination etched in her features. "They underestimate us," Max replied, his heart steady. "We've faced the darkness before. We can do it again." As night fell, the citizens gathered in the square, forming a united front against the looming threat. They held candles that flickered with light, illuminating their faces and symbolizing their shared resolve. Just as they began to chant their mantra of unity, the shadows at the edge of the square shifted. The council's enforcers emerged, flanked by loyalists, their faces grim and set with determination. "Citizens of Tenebris," the enforcer barked, "you are in violation of council law. Surrender now, and we may show you mercy." The crowd stood firm, their voices unwavering. Clara stepped forward, her heart racing. "We are no longer afraid. You can't control us anymore." The enforcers hesitated, caught off guard by the strength of the crowd. "You will regret this," the enforcer warned, but the citizens responded with a defiant chant, their voices rising in solidarity. Max stepped forward, joining Clara. "We've chosen to embrace the light. You can't take that away from us." The enforcers realized they were outnumbered, their resolve faltering. The citizens surged forward, their collective energy a force of nature. The council's power was built on fear, but fear no longer held sway over the hearts of the people. As the confrontation escalated, the creatures from Luminera emerged once more, their vibrant forms cutting through the shadows. "We stand with the citizens of Tenebris," one declared, their voice powerful and resonant. The enforcers faltered, confusion etched on their faces. It was clear that this time, they had underestimated the strength of unity. The crowd rallied around Max and Clara, a wave of courage and hope washing over them. With renewed energy, the citizens surged forward, chanting louder and louder. The enforcers found themselves backed into a corner, their power stripped away by the sheer force of determination emanating from the crowd. In a climactic moment, the enforcer turned to flee, realizing they had lost their grip on Tenebris. "This isn't over," they shouted, but the citizens drowned out the threat with cheers of triumph. As the enforcers retreated into the night, Max and Clara felt a surge of elation. They had done it again, they had stood up to the council and emerged victorious. The darkness that had once consumed them had been pushed back, and in its place, a brilliant light shone brighter than ever. The celebrations that followed were unlike any they had experienced before. The citizens danced, sang, and embraced one another, reveling in the sense of freedom and unity that had blossomed within their community. Max and Clara joined the festivities, their hearts full of joy and gratitude. "This is what it means to be free," Clara said, a radiant smile lighting up her face. "We've built something beautiful together." Max nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "And we'll keep building. This is just the beginning." As the night wore on and the stars twinkled overhead, Max and Clara knew they had forged a new path for Tenebris, one that embraced light, creativity, and the power of community. Together, they would continue to shine, illuminating the way for others to follow. And as they danced beneath the moonlight, the promise of a brighter future unfurled before them, a testament to their resilience and the unyielding strength of their bond. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, and they were ready to embrace whatever adventures lay ahead. In the end, it was not just about the fight against the council, it was about the celebration of life, the joy of community, and the unwavering belief that together, they could light up even the darkest of nights. The story of Tenebris had transformed, and in its place, a new tale began, a tale of hope, resilience, and the power of unity. Max and Clara looked out at the vibrant city around them, and in that moment, they knew their journey was far from over. Together, they would continue to shine bright, guiding others towards the light. And as they laughed and celebrated with their community, they were filled with the knowledge that they had built a new world, one where fear had no power, and love and creativity reigned supreme. Their hearts were alight with possibility, and they were ready to face whatever challenges the future would bring, hand in hand, united by the light they had created together. The end.